mist beads on leaves high above a river. Something hangs from a branch like a clump of moss, the shape hardly breathing. Hair parts under a breeze to reveal a soft green tint, a color grown, not painted. Ants thread the strands. A tiny moth lifts and settles again. A hawk passes, scanning bark and crowns, and moves on. The life on the hanging form keeps still. The life upon it keeps busy. This is an algae camouflage mammal at work, carrying shelter and disguise at once. The mammal that farms a garden in its fur. And the canopy closes over the moment, as if nothing happened. The rainforest here runs in woven tiers, lianas, palm fans, and orchids layered in damp air. A leaf-eating climber moves mostly by night, hand over hand, climbing slowly enough for lichens to remember its path. Heart rate and temperature idle. The metabolism is measured. Once a week, the animal descends to the forest floor, digs, defecates, and climbs back to safety. Hair grows in grooves that wick water from rain and fog, building a humid microhabitat. Only now does the identity fit the outline. A sloth, host to a living coat. Sloth algae coat, the mammal that farms a garden in its fur. Names the anchor, sloth algae fur turned habitat, and frames a puzzle that links plant, insect, and mammal in one drifting home. Here is the paradox, stated exactly. How did a mammal evolve to host and benefit from a miniature ecosystem in its own fur? The coat is not just hair, it is real estate. Filamentous green algae colonize the outer layers. Fungi thread the gaps. Mites, beetles, and moths set up house. Studies indicate the hair's microscopic grooves and cracks trap moisture and provide purchase for cells to cling. The resident algae color the animal a leafy green, a tone that reads like epiphyte shade to predators and blends with bromeliad rosettes. Field observations suggest grooming transfers some algae to the mouth, where fats and other compounds can supplement a sparse, leaf-heavy diet. Meanwhile, specialized moths ride the fur, breeding only when the host descends. Eggs laid in fresh dung hatch, grow and emerge. The adults fly back to the same moving hill of hair. Their bodies and frass may fertilize the algae, boosting growth on the host. In this draft of sloth symbiosis, camouflage, nutrients, and insect life cycle braid into one. How much each thread matters remains uncertain. Scientists still debate the accounting. But the effect, an entire sloth ecosystem nested in a mammal's coat, keeps turning heads. 3 explanations lead. First, the camouflage first hypothesis. Natural selection favors any trait that lowers detection by harpy eagles or cats in the understory. A green sheen shields an outline that already avoids sharp edges. Paired with stillness, it erases the animal from a predator's template. Hair grooves and slow movement make the platform. Algae do the painting. The trade-off is maintenance. Wet coats chill. Heavy growth could harbor ectoparasites. Yet evidence suggests the balance holds. Algae camouflage mammal strategies buy more time than they cost. Second, the nutrient subsidy hypothesis. Leaves are low in nitrogen and calories. In this view, mutualism sloth algae is a living pantry. Algae accumulate lipids and micronutrients from moth-derived nitrogen, then become a snack during grooming. Studies indicate higher moth loads correlate with richer algal growth. and algal compounds show up in stomach contents. The sloth pays rent by providing transport and a weekly dung delivery that closes the moth life cycle. The cost is risk. Descending to defecate exposes the host, and every minute on the ground is a bet. Even so, the loop persists, implying the return beats the hazard often enough to survive. Third, the protective microbiome hypothesis. The sloth ecosystem inside the fur is not just algae and insects. Bacteria on the hairs may produce antimicrobial compounds that suppress skin pathogens or repel biting arthropods. A wet, shaded coat would otherwise be a mold's dream. An active microbiome flips that script. The limit is variability. Populations differ, and not every coat hosts the same cast. Scientists still debate whether microbial protection is cause, effect, or fortunate byproduct, and nobody knows why some individuals wear bright gardens while neighbors carry only a faint tint. Mechanics tie ideas to behavior. Hair on many sloths grows from belly to back, channeling water outward and keeping skin drier. A scaffold made for colonists. The weekly descent, odd at first glance, seeds the next generation of moths that later fertilize the algae that later feed the host. Slow movement reduces abrasion, letting delicate films persist. When daylight warms the crown, the animal shifts into shafts where photosynthetic partners thrive. On cooler days, it blends into deeper shade. Sloth symbiosis, then, is not static. It is managed by posture and microclimate choices, an unspoken husbandry that looks untraceable until the pieces align. Constraints remain. Heavy storms can scour coats. Drought can starve films. A clipped branch opens a sunlit gap that bleaches green to gray. Predators adapt too. Some learn to search for the curve of a limb, not the color. Even so, the partnership has been rewriting what we thought we knew about mammal coats, turning insulation into habitat and camouflage into agriculture. Over generations, selection has favored hair that holds water and allies that hold value, assembling a garden that rides a body through the canopy. Even the rare drama returns to quiet. A green-tinged form hangs between trunks, a breeze sifts, and water beads along microscopic ridges before it drops. Can an animal carry a forest on its back? The answer rests in the slow covenant named in the title, Sloth Algae Coat, the mammal that farms a garden in its fur. If canopy humidity falls, if moths vanish, if leaves change chemistry, the equation may break and the garden may look vanished. For now, sloth algae fur, sloth symbiosis, and a carefully tended sloth ecosystem share the same address, silent, improbable, and perfectly matched to the speed of a life.